You don't belong here. Just sleep in the lobby like some unwanted stray. The suitcase hit the floor with a sharp thud, spilling its contents around me. The biting chill of the spring air was nothing compared to the searing sting of rejection. Just a week ago, when Mark proposed this family getaway, I believed it could be a fresh start. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was the moment he'd finally start to accept me. I had poured so much effort into preparing, thinking this trip would be my chance to be acknowledged. But now, standing alone in the hotel lobby, the crushing reality hit harder than I could ever have imagined. A forceful shove from behind sent me slamming into a marble pillar. "Oh, Anna, you're just in the way." Heather, my sister-in-law, sneered with a wicked grin. "Crawl into a corner and stay there." Clutching my suitcase, I watched as Mark, without sparing me a glance, lugged Heather's bags up the stairs. His eyes were deliberately averted, as though I didn't exist at all. "Go hide in the corner, will you? Your presence is just embarrassing," he muttered, walking off, his shoulder brushing against Heather's as they left me behind. My mother-in-law's mocking laughter echoed behind me. "At least you're not outside in the cold, huh?" she taunted. "Better here than being homeless, I guess." They had booked 3 rooms, excluding me once more. For years, I had endured their cruelty, constantly hoping that somehow, my efforts would win their approval. Growing up without a father, I had always craved a sense of family, a place where I truly belonged. I thought that if I just tried hard enough, if I was a good enough wife, they'd eventually see me for who I was. But standing here, under the cold glare of the chandelier, my shoulders aching and my heart sinking, I realized that it was never going to happen. Shaking with emotion, I reached for my phone and dialed. "My name is Anna James, I'm 35, married to Mark for 3 years. I was raised by my mother after my father passed. Family has always been everything to me. Before we got married, I had saved $5 million through careful investments. I never thought finances would need to be shared between us, but a year into our marriage, Mark came home late one night, smelling of alcohol and asking for help. He confessed he was drowning in gambling debt and begged me to help him. He couldn't handle it on his own. So, I told him about my savings. That was the moment everything changed. From that day forward, Mark's behavior shifted. He proudly boasted about my wealth to his family, treating it as his own. I thought this would bring us closer, but instead, it only made him feel more entitled. "Anna, I'm a little short this month," he'd say, month after month, after squandering his paycheck on his own indulgences. When I hesitated, he would guilt-trip me. "Oh, I get it. A guy like me doesn't deserve nice things," he'd pout. I'd sigh, open my wallet, and tell myself that marriage was about partnership, but the requests kept coming, more frequent, more extravagant, expensive golf clubs, designer clothes, extravagant dinners. Every time I questioned his spending, he'd just shrug it off with a smug smile. "I'm lucky to have such a generous wife," he'd joke. Heather and my mother-in-law also took advantage, treating my savings like their own. Heather's snide remarks never stopped. "Mark is so lucky to have such a rich wife," she'd sneer, jealousy seeping through her words. "Embroidery? That's something only grandmothers do," she'd mock when she saw the cherry blossom piece I made in memory of my late mother. Gradually, their exploitation drained me. I paid for Heather's rent, covered for Mark's irresponsibility, and endured their cruel comments. I kept holding on, hoping that one day, they would recognize my worth. But standing there now, in the lobby, I realized it would never happen. Under the cold, dismissive gazes of Mark and his family, something inside me finally snapped. I had listened to Heather's complaints, supported Gemma financially, and tried to maintain peace, all in the hope of building stronger family ties. At first, Mark respected my success, Gemma was kind, and Heather treated me like a sister. But over time, everything shifted. Mark's demands grew, Gemma's dependence deepened, and Heather's bitterness became more biting. Still, I clung to the hope that one day they would understand and accept me. "Thanks, Anna, I'll make sure to pay the rent by tomorrow," Gemma would promise every month. Yet the rent was never paid, and I ended up sending $1,200 directly to her landlord to keep her from being evicted. "Mom, are you sure you've handled the rent?" Mark would casually ask. "Oh, I'm fine," she'd smile, pretending to be independent. It drained me to know she relied on me while putting on a facade, yet I never told Mark the truth. Each month, as Mark became more oblivious to my sacrifices, I saw through his dependence, his mother's cunning, and Heather's malice. Embroidery became my refuge, a way to feel connected to my late mother. Each stitch was a quiet conversation with her spirit. but even that small solace was invaded. "Anna, let's have tea, let's spend time together as a family," Gemma would suggest. If I declined, her warmth would vanish. "Who do you think you are? Aren't we family?" Heather would chime in, her words sharp. "Isn't family important to you, Anna?" Even Mark joined in. "Why can't you just get along with my mom and sister?" he'd ask dismissively. The joy I once found in embroidery slowly faded. Each stitch felt like a burden, a reminder of how little I mattered. My home, which should have been a sanctuary, became suffocating, yet I couldn't let go of the one thing that still connected me to my mother. Then, one day, Mark surprised me. "Hey, Anna, let's do something special for your birthday this year, just the two of us. How about a trip?" I looked at him, stunned. In 3 years of marriage, we had never celebrated my birthday. He always claimed he couldn't afford it, telling me to treat myself with my own money, but now, he seemed genuinely excited. "I'll plan everything. It's your birthday, after all," he said, showing me pictures of a luxury hotel with chandeliers and a grand lobby. A flicker of hope sparked within me. Maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. As the trip approached, Mark grew more distant. He was glued to his phone, texting and smiling to himself. "Is everything okay, Mark?" I asked, uneasy. "Oh, yeah, nothing, just stuff," he replied vaguely. 3 days before the trip, he came home early, his tone serious. "I wanted to share something that made my heart drop a bit. My mom discovered a new restaurant nearby that she was excited to try, and Mark thought it would be a great idea to invite her." A knot tightened in my stomach. "Why?" I whispered. "Come on, Anna, she'll love it. It'll be family time," he said casually. Family time, in Mark's world, that typically meant his mom, his sister, and occasionally me. "Oh, and my sister's coming too," he added. His hesitation and the forced tone made it clear this wasn't how I imagined things going. "She and her husband had a big fight. She needs a break," he explained, trying to justify it. "But this was supposed to be my birthday," I said softly, my voice quivering. "What's the issue?" "It's just family," he snapped. "Are you really that opposed to having them join us?" I stayed silent, biting my tongue. His tone made me feel unreasonable. On the day of the trip, I spotted Gemma and Heather already waiting at the station, looking like they'd been part of the plan all along. "Anna, we're all set, right?" Heather's voice dripped with mockery. "A family trip on your birthday, how perfect," she added sarcastically. I stood frozen on the platform, feeling the last of my hope slip away. 3 years of marriage, sacrifices, and for what? To be treated like an outsider in a family that never really accepted me. I closed my eyes, a soft breeze brushing against my face. "Oh, Mark, I would love one of those lovely lunches." His mother's voice was sharp, intentionally loud. She hooked her arm through his, completely ignoring me. "Of course, Mom. Anna, can you pay for it?" Mark said, holding his hand out without looking at me, his focus entirely on his mother and sister. I handed him my wallet without a word. His mother smirked. "I'll have the shrimp stir-fry, just like Mark's." "Of course, he loves it." "Same for me," Gemma said with a smug grin. "Nothing like having family enjoy the same thing." They all exchanged smiles, leaving me standing on the outside of what should have been my special day. On the train, Mark sat between his mother and sister, and I was left across the aisle. "So, Mark, last night was terrible," Gemma began, dramatically recounting every detail of her issues, making sure everyone on the train heard. I sat quietly, feeling the weight of their voices. "And Anna, without kids or a career, you wouldn't understand what I go through," Gemma added, lacing her words with condescension. "True, Anna's got it easy, doesn't she?" Heather laughed. Mark chuckled along, playing along with the mockery. They continued, poking fun at me while Mark went along with it. By the time we reached the hotel, my hopes for a pleasant birthday had been completely crushed. At the hotel, the receptionist informed us, "Your reservation includes 2 rooms." Mark turned to me with a smug look. "Oh, Anna, I only booked 2 rooms. Mom and I will share one, and my sister gets her own." "Where am I supposed to stay?" I asked, disbelief in my voice. "There's room for you, but the lobby has comfy couches." "Lucky you, right?" Gemma and Heather snickered. "Look on the bright side, Anna, it's better than being outside in the cold like a stray dog," Heather added. Mark took my wallet and pulled out some bills. "Don't worry, Anna, we'll grab drinks in your honor," he said, walking off with his family, leaving me alone in the lobby. I stood there, looking up at the chandelier above. A sense of calm settled over me. This was a turning point. I pulled out my phone and whispered, "What a shame," before making a swift decision. "Is there anything we can help you with, ma'am?" the front desk clerk asked. "I've already spoken to the owner," I replied confidently. The staff's attitude shifted immediately, and soon enough, I was upgraded to the presidential suite. A private dinner was arranged, and I was treated like the only guest that mattered. By the time Mark and his family figured out where I was already enjoying a gourmet meal in peace, while his frantic texts went unanswered. For once, I was free to enjoy my birthday without their judgment. The next morning, I left the hotel quietly, settling the bill on Mark's credit card. It was time to take control of my life, leaving them to deal with their pettiness. When Mark and his family returned to the hotel, they were in a panic. "This has to be a mistake," Mark said, pale, as the desk clerk explained the charges. His card had been maxed out. "What kind of woman would do this to her husband? She's shameless," Heather screamed. The hotel staff informed them they could settle the bill later. Thanks to my connections, they had no idea what that would mean for their social standing. When I got home, it was peaceful. For the first time, I felt at ease. I opened the curtains to let the spring sunlight pour in, taking a deep breath of relief. An hour later, the door slammed open. "Anna, what the hell were you thinking?" Mark's furious voice, alongside his mother's shrill anger and Gemma's snide remarks, filled the room as they tried to humiliate me. I stood still, my expression unreadable. "Why don't we take this outside?" I suggested. They stopped, surprised. "After all, you wouldn't want the neighbors to hear, would you?" I led them outside and confronted everything they had hidden. "By the way, here's the truth about the support I've given your mother all these years," I said, watching Mark's face twist as I revealed how I'd covered his mother's rent for 3 years. "That's over now." His mother's smugness turned to desperation. "But Anna, you can't just stop like this." "I can, and I already have," I said firmly, before turning to Gemma. "By the way, those social media posts about me? Well documented and shared with your husband. He's already filing for divorce." One by one, they realized the consequences of their choices. Their shared disdain for me had finally caught up with them, and now they were left alone. A few weeks later, Mark came to collect his things. "Can't we start over?" he begged. "You treated me like a monster wife for years, didn't you?" "Well, I hope you enjoyed it," I said calmly. "There's no need for me to play the villain anymore. This is the end." Days later, I received a package, one of my cherished embroidery pieces, carefully wrapped, with a note of apology from Mark's niece. It was a small, but powerful reminder that kindness and understanding don't come from force, they come from genuine connection. Soon after, I began teaching embroidery classes, pouring myself into the craft my mother had taught me. Each stitch brought me peace. I had finally built my own circle of support and joy, not from obligation, but from love and authenticity, just as my mother would have wanted. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay stunned.